Elizabeth, I know you're in there. You need to control your vampire. So my vampire is in control? That means that I can finally use my powers. Elizabeth isn't here right now. A sly smirk settles onto my lips, and I see fear flash in his eyes. Elizabeth, this isn't like you. You need to take control. Why would I want to do that? He needs to pay for what he's done. Elizabeth and I are both in agreement in the fact that you deserve to suffer. We haven't exactly talked about what the punishment should be, but don't worry, we're thinking. Look, I know you're upset, but you need to understand. I was only saying those things to help you. A bitter chuckle passes through my lips. You were trying to help me by making me feel like dirt? I don't think so. I was trying to get you to your full potential. You weren't focused, and it was affecting your performance. You needed an extra push so that you would be able to use your powers. It seems like I might have pushed you a little too hard, though. No, I think it was the perfect amount. I've been waiting for a long time to finally be free. Maybe I'll give you a quick and instant death as a sign of my thanks. Suddenly, my hands heat up, and I see fire shoot out of them. I have no idea how I know how to do this or how to control it, but I do. Carter moves away from the tree and starts taking steps backwards. The flames get closer and closer to him, and I watch him run around the area trying to avoid them. He's going to get tired eventually, but I could do this all day. I start laughing at the different facial expressions he keeps making. He looks so scared. A pang of guilt stabs at my heart, but it goes away a second later. Elizabeth, stop! Snap out of it. I immediately start to relax, and I frown in confusion. How did he do that? The flames go back into my hands, and I feel even more disappointed. What did you do to me? All my energy feels like it's been drained from my body. I feel calmer, but I still feel just as powerful. I can influence people's emotions and thoughts. When you weren't improving, I figured that I would have to try a different approach. I would say something to you, and then I would magnify it in your brain so you would feel angrier about it. Apparently, it worked, but it almost cost me my life, Carter says while slowly taking steps towards me. I glare at him, but he just gives me a sheepish smile. You were playing with my emotions? A few minutes ago, I would have been furious, but now that I'm actually controlling my emotions, I realize that I'm actually not that mad. I guess it's just not in my nature to get upset about things. I think back to a few minutes ago and think about how I was acting. I would have never acted like that in normal situations. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know how I didn't notice that he was controlling my emotions, though. I should have realized something was going on when I started doubting Ryder's feelings about me. A lot of things in my life might change, but I know that's something that will always stay the same. Yes, I'm sorry. You just needed to get angry before you reached your full potential. If you ever do that again, you won't be able to live to tell the story. Got it? His Adam's apple bobs up and down as he gulps quietly. He nods his head with a solemn look on his face. I promise. Good, because I wouldn't go easy on you. I try to fight the smile that's making its way across my face, but I can't help it. Once Carter sees my smile, he relaxes and smiles back at me. Wow, I better remember to stay on your good side from now on. I smile slightly before I realize something. Why did you look so scared earlier when my vampire was in control? Well, vampires have really bad tempers, and I was worried that you would actually kill me. He shrugs casually, but I know that's not the entire truth. I want the truth. Fine, it's because... Elizabeth's POV. Well, are you going to tell me, or are you just going to stare at me? I ask with a raised eyebrow. Carter gives me a sheepish smile before shrugging his shoulders. Sorry, I thought you would forget if I didn't say anything for a few minutes. I give him an incredulous look, which makes him laugh. It's so weird hearing him laugh, because he's usually so serious. In fact, this is probably the third time I've heard him laugh. You should have seen your face, he manages to say in between laughs. I glare at him before tapping my foot on the ground. Okay, stop stalling. I want to know already. I pout slightly, which makes him laugh harder. I'm glad he finds this so amusing. After a few minutes, he sobers up and I take in a deep breath. This is it, the moment of truth. I don't know if I'm ready for it. We need to figure out what powers you have, and then you need to figure out how to use them. Seriously? That's it? I already knew that. Well, yeah, I thought that was the plan. That's why we've been training and stuff. I say, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. He looks taken back by my response before a tiny smirk makes its way onto his face. What's he smirking at? Wow, you've changed a lot over these last few hours. My face scrunches up in confusion. What's that supposed to mean? I'm still the same person that I was a little while ago. I haven't changed at all. I didn't mean it in a bad way. In fact, it's very good. You're a lot more confident now that you are one with your vampire. You're not as timid and shy, and now you're actually speaking your mind. I think about what he said, and I realize that he's right. I have changed, but it's clearly for the better. I don't feel so hesitant and afraid anymore, confident in myself. I smile to myself as a surge of happiness goes through me. I've been waiting all my life for this moment, and now that it's here, it seems too good to be true. Yeah, you're right. I have changed a little. Now please tell me what's going on, I demand slightly. The look on his face earlier was that of pure horror, and I know that it has to be bad if he was scared. Ever since the first time I saw him, he was always emotionless, and it looked like nothing fazed him. If he's worried about something, then I know it's a big deal. One of my other abilities is that I can see glimpses of the future. I just get a brief view of the scene, but it's enough for me to know the situation and what I need to do to help. My eyebrows raise at this confession. Is that why you're here helping me? You knew that I was going to get kidnapped? He nods his head. Yes, I did. I've known that was going to happen for years. What do you mean? Sometimes I see a few minutes into the future, but other times I can see years into the future. I was only 6 when I had the vision of you being taken. You weren't even born yet. That was the first glimpse of the future that I had ever seen. Ever since that moment, I've devoted myself to doing my best to help others when I see the visions. Do you know the specific day or time of when the events are going to happen? No, I don't get that much information, unfortunately. So does the future change if you end up helping that person? It all depends on the situation. Sometimes I'm not able to help the person in a way that would change their future. For the most part, though, something is always changed. That's not always a good thing, though. I nod my head in understanding. All right, now that I have some background, will you tell me what you saw? My need to know what this big secret is grows more and more with each passing moment. Look, I'm not sure that's a good idea. The future is not looking too bright right now, he says with a grimace. What does he mean by that? What's going to happen that's so bad? If it's something really bad, then I should know about it, especially if it affects me. Earlier, you said that I've changed, right? You're right. I did change. I'm a lot stronger now, physically and mentally. You can tell me. I'll be okay. Fine. I'll tell you even though I don't think it's the best idea. Are you sure you want to know? This is your last chance to back out of this, he says in a warning tone. I nod my head and look at him with curious eyes. I'm ready to know. He looks pained for a few seconds and dread starts bubbling up in my stomach, but I just push it down. Sometime in the near future, Ryder and his pack will finally catch up to us and a full-on war will start. Many lives will be lost, and it will be documented as the worst fight in werewolf-vampire history. The only person that can end this fight is you. You need to be ready for this battle. He trails off, and my heart starts beating violently in my chest. It feels like it's about to burst at any moment. A lot of the people you love and care about, they will be killed. I'm sorry to say this, but your mate and your brother will be killed in order to protect you. I suck. I'm a deep breath, and I feel tears form in my eyes. It feels like he just punched me in the stomach and knocked all the air out of me. I swallow loudly and force myself to calm down. I can't break down. I need to be strong. How can we stop that from happening? I ask in a shaky voice. Carter gives me a sad smile before shaking his head. The best way would be to train, but honestly, there is a slim chance that this can be avoided. All we can do is hope to lessen the amount of deaths that will happen. I start shaking my head and backing away from him. No, that can't be true. There must be a way to stop this. I won't let this happen. I start shaking violently before I fall to the ground. My mind starts spinning, and I feel my eyes closing. I can hear someone yelling at me in the distance. but I can't make out what they're saying before the darkness takes over. I can feel my brain throbbing painfully in my skull, which is what wakes me up from my haunting dreams. Visions of Ryder or Jake lying on a ground with blood pouring out of them kept me from having a decent rest. I couldn't open my eyes, though. It felt like I was stuck there in time. Each dream was the same. Someone would go to hit me, but then either Ryder or Jake would jump in front of me, and I watched as their body would fall to the ground, but there was nothing I could do to help them. My feet were planted firmly on the ground. All I could do was scream, but even then that didn't do much. It seemed like no one could hear my screams of terror or my pleas for help. Well, maybe they could hear them, but they just chose to ignore them. I would see Patrick or Zach standing above them with a triumphant smirk. They would walk away and leave Ryder of Jake laying on the ground. Even if they were just nightmares, I feel scared out of my mind. I don't want those bad dreams to turn into reality. I have to protect my loved ones. I slowly open my eyes only to have to shut them again. A bright light shines on my face and I squirm to try and get away from it. Oh, good. You're awake. I'm going to need you to open your eyes for me. I peek through my eyelashes and see that a young female is leaned over trying to shine a light in my eyes. I just need to do this for a minute. It won't hurt at all. The second my left eye opens a fraction more, I immediately wince and start blinking to try and clear the black dots from my vision. The flashlight feels like it's burning a hole in my eye. The woman gives me a sympathetic smile. Look, Han, I know you're in pain, but the more you cooperate, the faster this can get done. It hurts, I manage to croak out. My voice sounds like it hasn't been used in forever. It feels like my throat is on fire. I slowly open my eyes and she gives me another sympathetic smile. The woman gives me a cup of water and I gratefully take it. She helps me sit up so I can drink it without choking. I take a few small sips and I can feel the burning in my throat lessen. When I'm done, I gently push the cup away from my mouth. I don't think I would have been able to put any more force into that action, though. My limbs are aching and they feel heavy. I lean back in the bed and groan slightly. I'm in so much pain. I try to stay completely still so I won't feel as much pain. My body feels like it weighs a ton. It feels like I have an elephant sitting on top of me. My brain starts to feel all hazy again, and I shut my eyes to stop the room from spinning. I can hear the woman trying to talk to me, but I can't understand anything she's saying. All of her words get jumbled up in my brain, and I'm too tired to try and figure out what she's asking me. When I can finally open my eyes again, I squint while looking around the room for the first time. It's better than all the other rooms I've been put in. I'm laying in a nice warm bed with comfortable sheets. The room doesn't smell terrible, and it looks like it's been kept in good condition. I relax slightly before I hear the sound of a door opening and closing. When I see who the person is, I immediately tense up. What are you doing here? I'm surprised my voice comes out as strong as it did. Zach looks shocked for a moment before a stupid smirk forms on his lips. Don't be like that, babe. I don't know why you keep trying to push me away. We both know that you want this as much as I do, he states while moving closer to the bed. I growl while shaking my head. No, we both know that I don't want this. I don't know what part of that is hard for you to understand. I've never been interested in having something with you. In fact, you disgust me. Saying those words to his face and finally getting them off my chest makes me feel light inside. It feels like a burden's been lifted. Unfortunately, I think I've upset him. The smirk on his face drops and a scowl takes its place. What did you just say to me? If I had said this to him before, I would have been scared out of my mind. I would be shaking with fear, and my heart would be pounding against my ribcage. You heard me. I didn't stutter. Now, I don't feel any of that. In fact, I find this situation kind of funny. Zach's face looks comical, and I can barely contain a laugh. His face is a bright red, and if this was a cartoon, smoke would be coming out of his ears. You're going to regret saying that, he growls. I give him an unimpressed look before rolling my eyes. Yeah, no, I don't think I will. A cheeky grin settles on my lips. It's really fun getting him angry. I wish I would have done this before. You better stop that right now. Or what? What are you going to do? I'm not worried at all. I know I can defend myself if anything happens. Before he can do anything, the door opens again. Carter walks in through the door and I feel myself relax. "Hello, sir. Sorry for interrupting, but Patrick is looking for you," Carter says in a formal voice. Zach growls before nodding his head. He turns and glared at me. "I'll be back to teach you a lesson." I just shrug, which causes him to growl and storm out of the room and slam the door behind him. "I'm definitely liking the new attitude," Carter says with a genuine smile on his face. I return his smile. "Me too. How are you feeling?" I think about lying, but then I decide to just tell the truth. "I feel like I just died and come back to life as a piece of crap." "That's not really a surprise. You kind of went crazy after what I told you." "What exactly happened?" "You caused a mini earthquake which almost killed both of us, and then there was a tornado that almost killed us. When neither one of those things worked, you decided to have fire fall from the sky. That one was a little harder to escape. You really don't like me, do you?" My eyes widen at what he said, and I stare at him in shock. "You're joking, right?" He shakes his head to my amazement and horror. "How was I able to cause so much damage without even being aware of it?" "Nope, this all happened. Do I look like the type of person to make things like that up?" His left eyebrow raises, and I let out a sigh. I shake my head slowly while biting my bottom lip. "Then how am I still alive? How are you still alive? Wouldn't that have been a big giveaway to everyone else?" "Zach didn't act like he knew anything about that," I question. "Well, first off, we're still alive because I happen to be awesome, and Zach didn't say anything because he didn't know." I know he acts like an idiot most of the time, but he's not that stupid. There's no way that he wouldn't have noticed all that stuff happening. "Are you sure about that? He is pretty stupid. Anyways, that's not the point. He didn't notice because all that stuff was happening in the space around us. Luckily, we weren't too close to the house. So no one got hurt?" Carter shakes his head, and I let out a breath. "That's good." I then remember the doctor and the room I'm in, but Carter beats me to it. "I bet you're wondering why there was a doctor in here earlier," he says with an amused look on his face. I nod my head quickly before wincing at the pain. That did not feel good. "I was able to get you back to your room before we got caught. When someone went to check up on you this morning, you were burning up. It literally felt like your skin was on fire. Zach called the nurse to make sure that you wouldn't die before he got the chance to kill you." Those were his words, by the way. "Ah, that was sweet of him," I say in a sarcastic tone. Carter chuckles slightly before nodding. We sit in silence for a few minutes before he stands up. "I should probably get going before someone gets suspicious. I think I'm supposed to be patrolling the area soon anyways." "Have fun with that," I remark with a smirk. He rolls his eyes before leaving the room and leaving me to my thoughts. My mind drifts back to my nightmares and a heavy feeling settles in my heart. When will this be over? Writer's POV. For the past few days, my men and I have been following the trail that Chris was able to make with the information he found. I left Chris in the pack so he could watch them and so he could find out more information about Elizabeth's location. We've been traveling for a long time, but we still haven't found them. The days seem to mix together in a blur. My actions these past days have been robotic. We travel for hours each day, only stopping when it is absolutely necessary. I'm grateful that the men don't complain. They want their Luna back, almost as much as I want my mate back. When I ask them to do something, they do it without questions or protesting. All of them have gone above and beyond, and I couldn't be more pleased with them. I'm so thankful for the pack members that I have. I know I've been blessed. I stare at the trees in front of me, lost in thought. I just want this to be over already. I wish there was some way that we would be able to find her. I just need a sign. What if it's too late when I get there? I would never be able to forgive myself. I've already failed her so many times. I can't fail this time. The sound of leaves crunching under someone's foot reaches my ears, but I don't turn around. I already know who it is because of their scent. "Alpha, Beta, Brian is requesting your presence," Jake says to me. I tense slightly before nodding my head. I wanted him to stay back in the pack, where he would be protected completely, but he wouldn't have that. He wanted to be there to help find his sister, and I understand that completely. If I was in his place, I would be doing the same thing. However, he's not really in the right state of mind right now, and I'm worried that he will act on impulse if something happens. He's even worse than me. I know that if something happens to him, Elizabeth will be devastated. I've ordered everyone to keep an eye on him and protect him with their lives. I know he's an excellent fighter, but I don't want to take any chances. Thank you, Jake. I will be there momentarily, I reply while glancing over my shoulder. He bows slightly before walking away. I run a hand through my hair before letting out a frustrated sigh. I push off the tree I was leaning on before I start walking back to our small camp. I see Brian pacing back and forth. I walk up to him with a curious look on my face. Brian rarely gets stressed about something, so I know this is serious. Brian, you wanted to see me? His eyes immediately snap up towards mine before he nods his head quickly. Alpha, come quickly. We must go now, he says before quickly heading off in a random direction. I frown slightly, but I follow him anyway. Once he sees I'm following him, he starts to pick up his pace into a jog. Where are we going? I ask as we continue to run through the forest. One of our scouts has said that there are people in a cabin not far from here. The scout saw one of the people, and his description matches what your uncle looks like. My face blanks as I process what he just said. I should have been the first one to know of their location. Why did he tell you and not me? I demand in a hard tone. He tried to mind link you as soon as he saw, but your walls were up. I don't say anything after that. We continue to run for a few minutes before Brian suddenly stops. I stare at him in confusion, but he just motions me towards a few bushes. We walk towards the thin bushes before crouching down near them. We move some of the smaller pieces to the side so we can see on the other side. The first thing I notice is a small cabin in the middle. I see a few people standing around and talking. They all have arrogant smirks on their face. I roll my eyes as I see some of them arm wrestling. They look pathetic. I move my eyes away from them and look around the rest of the camp. There's nothing really special about it, but it's hidden well. I wouldn't have known it was here if I wasn't looking. I try to sniff the area to see if I can make out any familiar smells, but I can't smell anything other than the disgusting smell coming from the rogues. My nose scrunches up, but I force myself to ignore the smell. I need to focus on what's happening so I can see if these people are working with Zach. The door to the cabin opens and closes, and I watch as a man and a woman walk outside. I can't see their faces, but Kadon starts to get restless. My eyebrows raise, and I start to watch the two of them more carefully. The guy throws the woman onto the ground, and Brian and I let out growls. No woman should be treated like that. I know my pack has had rumors spread about how we mistreat women, but none of those things are remotely true. Women, especially if they're your mate, should be treated with respect. The woman stands up while wiping her hands on her old, worn-looking jeans. She turns slightly, and I feel my stomach flip. That's weird. That only happens when I see one person. I squint to try and get a better look at the woman. She turns even more while flipping some of her hair over her shoulder. I squint even more, which doesn't actually help me, before gasping. My heart clenches painfully, and I almost fall to my knees and weep. Elizabeth, we've found them. The urge to walk over to her and wrap her up in my arms is overwhelming. My body feels paralyzed, and I couldn't move from my spot even if I wanted to. Brian lets out a sigh of relief. We found them, he whispers to me. My eyes stayed locked to my gorgeous mate's face, and I feel my heart soar. We finally found her. I'll be able to be with her soon. I already start to feel complete again. That gaping hole in my heart slowly closes and is replaced with relief. More people pour out of the house, and I'm curious as to how many people can fit in there. It doesn't matter, though. Brian and I have handled situations more dangerous than this. I'm sure we could go in there and take Elizabeth out. The last person that exits the house has my blood boiling. Zeke. Kadon growls. A small smile forms on my lips before it disappears. I see where he's heading, and I start glaring at him, even though he can't see him. I watch as he walks up to her with a confident smirk on his face before talking to her in what looks like a condescending tone. Elizabeth's eyes narrow slightly at whatever he said to her, and I strain my ears to try and hear what they're saying. I frown slightly when I realize that they're a little too far away for me to hear them, so all I can make out is the sound of their muffled voices. My eyes narrow when I see Zach put his hand on Elizabeth's wrist. She flinches slightly before glaring at him. Zach continues to talk with his arrogant smirk, but Elizabeth keeps shaking her head and trying to free her wrist. His smirk falters slightly before he grabs her shoulder harshly while shaking her. A deep growl rumbles in my chest as I start seeing red. No one touches my mate like that. I'm about to step forward when an arm stops me. I look at Brian and see that he's watching them intently. He shakes his head slightly and gives me a pointed look. I'm snapped back to reality. If I go out there, I would blow our cover. I know that Brian is about as mad as I am by what's happening, but at least he can still think clearly. All I see is red, and it doesn't help that Kadon is trying to claw free to teach Zach a lesson. Brian's back is stiff, and one of his fists is clenched, while the other is holding on to my shoulder. His eyes are burning fiercely, and he lets out a low growl. "How dare he touch my Luna like that?" Brian growls. I've never seen him so mad about something. He is usually so calm and collected. My focus is brought back to the scene unfolding before me. I watch as Zach's face turns into one of annoyance and anger. Elizabeth stands her ground and doesn't seem affected by his harsh glare. I feel my heart swell with pride. She looks so strong and brave. I feel a small tap on my shoulder, and then I see Brian staring at something to the side. I move slightly so I can see it, and I exhale raggedly. One of the men in the camp is staring at Brian and me. He starts walking towards the two of us with a confused look, and I immediately get ready for a fight. There's no doubt in my mind that I could beat this guy. Before I can do anything, Brian moves in my way. He gives me a serious look. "Alpha, we must turn back." I give Brian a cold glare, but he doesn't seem fazed. He seems absolutely determined. "What are you talking about? My maid is right there and she's being abused." I hiss at him. "Alpha, please try to focus. Look around you. Do you see how their numbers exceed ours? The two of us would not be able to attack them and survive. We need help." My jaw clenches, but I force myself to listen to what he's saying. I look around and see that he's right. People are walking around, watching every little thing. It's actually a surprise that they haven't spotted us yet. Well, everyone, but that guy who is staring at us. He stopped walking, and now he's just staring. He looks at us with great interest in his eyes. It's kind of unnerving. I take in a deep breath before exhaling. He's right, we do need help. I look back at Elizabeth and feel my heart break. I'm so close to her, but yet so far. "Come on, we need to go," I mumble to Brian through the mind link. He nods his head and we walk back to the camp. I've already mind-linked the pack and our allies about what we saw. They'll be here as soon as possible. I also assigned a few people to watch over Zach and Patrick in case they decided to move locations. I nod my head gratefully. I hadn't even thought of that stuff. "Thank you. You've done a great job. I'm proud that I picked you as my beta," I say in a sincere voice. I see pride shine in Brian's eyes before he masks his face. He knows I'm not the type of person to say thank you or give compliments. His chest puffs out slightly, and I can't help but smirk a little. He looks so proud of himself. When we get back to the camp, everyone is sitting around looking tense. I know exactly what they're thinking and feeling. They want to go and get Elizabeth back almost as much as I do. As soon as more people join us, we are going to get my mate and your Luna back. My men all nod their heads with determined looks on their faces. I look at the sky. "Hang in there, love, just a little longer." Zach's POV. "I can't believe that stupid little slut keeps rejecting me. Who does she think she is? I am her mate, and her alpha. She will treat me with respect. I can't wait until we get back to my pack so I can show her who's in charge. I would do it now, but I'm not really interested in sharing her at this moment. Maybe after I get my fill of her. A few of my men have already asked me, and I don't see a problem with it. As long as she stays away from Ryder, I don't mind." "Our mission today was a success," a familiar voice says to me. I look up with a smirk on my face. I turn around in my chair so I can face him. "Of course it worked. I came up with it," I exclaim with an eye roll. Patrick lets out a frustrated sigh before shaking his head. When are we going to attack? Midday tomorrow. By that time, Ryder won't have enough people to help him. I've already called my allies and they should be here tonight. We'll go over the plan and then attack. I don't know how you managed to lead them straight into a trap. I thought my idea would have worked, Patrick grumbles. I give him a mock sympathetic look. I'm sorry, you just don't have my level of skill when it comes to making plans. I shrug with a grin on my face. Patrick glares at me before standing up. Whatever, I'm leaving now. Just make sure your allies know the plan. I don't want to screw this up. His hand touches the door, but I call him back before he can leave. I hope you realize that Ryder will not be happy when he realizes that you have been helping us. His glare intensifies, and I try to contain my chuckle. Making him mad is so much fun. You better watch your back tomorrow, he says before dramatically leaving my room. He even slammed the door close, and I'm pretty sure if his hair was longer, he would have flipped his hair in indignation. Watch my back? He's the one that needs to watch his back. I don't trust him, so I've made some plans of my own. He will die with everyone tomorrow. I don't like how he's been looking at my mate. I swirl my chair around and put my hands behind my hair. Life is really good. I finally have my mate back, and I can kill the person who tried to steal her from me. Ryder won't even know what hit him. He walked right into my carefully laid out trap. He has no allies over here, but I happen to have more than enough. I have people who have owed me favors, so now they are my allies. Also, my pack is about an hour away by car. They'll be here in no time. I can't wait to see the look on Ryder's face when I attack him and his men. My dreams are finally going to be realized. People will show me the respect I deserve. I smile before standing and stretching. I go over to the window to get a look at the night sky. I look around before seeing something that catches my eye. I see two figures moving carefully, and I immediately become suspicious. No one should be awake at this time. I decide to do some investigation and see what's going on with those people. I casually stroll out of my room before walking down the steps. I walk out of the front door before heading in the direction I saw the people go in. This should be interesting. Elizabeth's POV. I lay on my bed waiting for Carter to come get me so we can train. I rub my eyes tiredly and let out a yawn. I stare up at the ceiling in my room with my hands behind my head. Well, this is really boring, a voice in my head states. I almost jump out of my skin in shock. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, she says sheepishly. I relax when I realize that it's just my vampire. She's talked to me a few times before, but it's mostly just been during training, so I don't give up. It's all right, I respond before I start counting the cracks on the ceiling. I can't wait till training, she says excitedly. I can definitely wait, I mumble. She laughs, but I'm being serious. I frown slightly when I finally realize something. You know what I just realized? What did you just realize? She asks. I don't know your name, I mumble sheepishly. My name is Alexandrea, but don't call me that. Call me Alex. You have a beautiful name. I know, she replies with a smirk. I roll my eyes slightly, but before I can answer, I hear a knock on my door. It's the knock Carter and I came up with, so I rush to the door. I open it quietly before walking out and closing it behind me. Carter puts one finger to his lips, telling me to be quiet. We quietly creep through the house, barely making a sound. I can hear soft murmurs coming from Zach's office, and I hold my breath. The last thing I want is for him to catch us. I don't even want to imagine what he would do. Once we get to a clearing that's far away from the cabin, we both let out sighs of relief. I pull my hair into a ponytail, and I get into a fighting stance. Carter holds up his hand before shaking his head. I frown slightly before standing upright. What's wrong? I ask, while tilting my head to the side. Nothing's wrong. We're just going to be doing something different today. What are we doing then? This entire time, I've been training you in hand-to-hand combat. This is because I don't know what's going to happen during this fight, and I want you to be prepared for anything. There might be times where you won't be able to use your powers. Now, however, we need to practice your powers for those times when you will be able to use them. We already know that you can control the elements, so let's start with that. I nod my head and try to calm my nerves. I've never actually used my powers before. The 2 times that I used them before don't count because both times I used them, I wasn't in control of my body. There's no reason to be nervous, Lizzie. We've got this, Alex exclaims. I stretch my legs and arms before I crack my knuckles. I'm ready. Carter gives me a smile before he points to a random tree that's nearby. Your target is that tree. Let's see what you can do to it using water. I stretch out my hand towards the tree and start focusing until all I can see is that tree. I feel my blood start running through my veins faster as my heartbeat increases. A cool sensation runs along my body until it gets to my hands and then my fingertips. Small water droplets pour out from my hand. A startled gasp escapes my lips before I start grinning. Carter gives me a small smile before motioning for me to continue. The water starts moving towards the tree when an idea pops into my mind. I flick my wrist, and each of the small water droplets turn into sharp icicles, which go flying into the tree. My eyes widen, and I throw my hands up in the air. I turn to face Carter, and he's nodding his head in approval. I clap my hands excitedly as I feel a spark of happiness run through my body. Did you see that? I question while jumping up and down. Yes, I saw it. Good job, Carter says with a chuckle. I let out a few giggles before I start doing a happy dance. I throw my hands around before jumping around and laughing. I hear him clear his throat, and I stop dancing. I give him a sheepish smile, and he gives me an amused smile in return. All right, let's try fire now, Carter says while wiping sweat off his forehead. I nod my head eagerly before taking a deep breath. I turn to face another tree before I reach my hand out. Focus, Lizzie. Deep breaths in and out. You've got this, Alex coaches. I focus on my target, and I can feel my hands growing hotter and hotter before a huge fireball flies from my hand and into the tree. A crackling sound comes from the tree before it falls over. I let out a happy shriek before I start doing my happy dance again. Carter looks at me with amusement shining in his eyes while he crosses his arms over his chest. I continue to dance, oblivious to my surroundings, until I get another glance at Carter's face. He no longer looks amused. In fact, he looks really worried. He looks around the area with calculating eyes. My eyebrows furrow, and I stop dancing. I'm about to ask him what's wrong when I hear a few footsteps coming from behind me. I crane my neck around to try and see who's there, but I can't see anyone. I look back at Carter to try and see what I should do, but he's not looking at me. He squints slightly, probably trying to see who the person is, and I start taking a few steps in his direction. What's going on over here? A familiar voice questions. Carter and I freeze, and I feel like I just got punched in the stomach. I turn around just in time to see Zach walk out of the darkness with a smirk on his face. Breathing starts to get harder for me, and my vision starts blurring. Carter gives me a worried glance before his face becomes determined. He closes the gap between us, and then he pushes me behind him before getting in a defensive position. Lizzie, you need to calm down. Now is not the time for you to start panicking. You're stronger than him. Alex yells at me. I know that everything that she is saying is true, but I just can't get my body to listen to my mind. I'm trying, but I can't breathe. I start panting slightly, and Carter takes a step back, which forces me to do the same thing. Lizzie, everything will be all right. Take a few deep breaths. You're okay, a soothing voice whispers to me. I can feel my breathing start to slow down and return to normal. I gasp slightly when I realize who said that. Belle, is that you? Yeah, it's me. How are you even? We don't have time for that. We need to focus on the task at hand. I'll explain everything later on. I grumble slightly, which causes Alex to laugh at me. I focus back in on the situation and see Carter and Zach glaring at each other. Well, I can't actually see Carter's face, but I'm assuming that he's glaring at Zach because his back muscles are really tense. I don't want them to fight, though. This is my fight, not Carter's. I straighten my spine before moving out from behind Carter. Zach's eyes snap to mine, and his smirk returns to his face. He still has a glare on his face, but I don't feel panicked anymore. I take a step towards him, and I see Carter stiffen slightly. What are you doing here? Zach asks while looking between Carter and I. Carter was teaching me how to dance because, as you witnessed, I can't really dance, I say with a shrug. Zach's eyes narrow and his glare intensifies. Did you really think I would believe something like that? Do you think I'm an idiot? He sneers at me. Well, you are pretty stupid. It was worth a try, I say with an innocent smile. Carter nudges me slightly, and when I look back at him, he shakes his head, even though his eyes are shining with amusement. Keep going. Alex cheers. Before I can say or do anything, Zach shifts into his wolf and lunges at me. Carter immediately pushes me to the side before shifting into his wolf and blocking Zach's attack. Run, Annabelle yells. I see that Carter has everything under control and he's easily beating Zach. I take off into the forest, not looking behind me. Where are we going? I ask as I continue to sprint away from the clearing. Mate? I bump into someone before I can ask Belle what she means. Where do you think you're going? The person that I bumped into asks. I gulp and look up and see a group of people surrounding him with smirks on their faces. I guess it's time to put my training to the test. Chelsea's POV. How was your therapy session? John asks before pulling me into his arms and kissing my forehead. I snuggle into his warm chest and let out a happy smile. It was all right. Dr. Smith said that I'm getting a lot better. I don't have the nightmares anymore. That's great. I'm so proud of you, love. You've come a long way these past couple of weeks. The pride that's clear in his voice makes tears come into my eyes. I'm so glad that I was blessed with such an amazing mate. I don't know what I did to deserve him, but I will never stop trying to be better for him. Thank you, John. I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without you. There are no words that can describe my gratitude, I mumble into his chest. He squeezes me in his arms, and my heart constricts in my chest. It's all right, love. That's just what mates do for each other. He picks me up before walking over to the couch. He sits down with me on his lap before running his hand through my hair. I'm glad you're my mate, I say while tracing my finger over his collarbone. His chest rumbles slightly and my smile widens. I'm glad I'm your mate too, he murmurs before pressing a soft kiss to my forehead. I smile as I start making my way over to the kitchen to grab some food. Life has been great these past few weeks. Zach has been away on some business trip, so I haven't had to deal with him. John and I have been spending a lot of time together, and I finally feel comfortable around him. I don't feel so scared of everything all the time, and I can finally be me. I hum to myself as I grab some eggs and bacon from the refrigerator. I start grabbing all the things that I'm going to need, and I put them on the table. I'm about to start cooking when I see Zach's beta run into the room. He looks around frantically before his eyes set on me. Have you seen Alpha Daniel? He questions while running a hand through his messy red hair. I frown slightly and shake my head. No, I haven't seen him. What's wrong? I ask before taking a few steps forward. He looks at me weirdly before shaking his head. You don't need to know, he states before he runs out of the room. Curiosity gets the best of me and I start following him. I keep a safe distance as he heads towards Alpha Daniel's office. He walks inside and I can see Alpha Daniel's on the phone, but I can't hear him, so I move closer to the office while remaining hidden. Are you sure everything's ready? Alpha Daniel asks with a hint of concern in his voice. Of course I'm sure. Ryder walked right into my trap. I don't know how he could be so stupid to leave his pack behind and only bring a few men with him. He's going to be killed by this time tomorrow. Zach exclaims arrogantly. My eyes widened in shock, and I put one of my hands over my mouth to conceal my gasp. I can't believe they walked right into your trap. Good work, son, Alpha Daniel replies in a bored tone. Did you really doubt me? I mean, when have my plans ever failed? I know what I'm doing. Alpha Daniels rolls his eyes before shaking his head. We'll be there in a few hours. I'm sending the army now. Ryder won't even know what hit him. Zach lets out an evil chuckle before humming slightly. Good. Make sure that everyone that's able to fight will be fighting. This is going to be the war to end all wars. Once I'm ruler of the werewolf world, everything will be all right. Have you spoken to our allies? Yes. I have been able to talk to your other allies. They said that they would be more than willing to help. I'll call them as well and send them over to you. Good. They need to be here soon, though. I don't want Ryder being able to have any help. Do you understand, old man? Once we take him out, we will head to his pack and kill all of them. Did I make myself clear? Yes, they will be there soon, I promise. Don't mess this up. Zach growls before hanging up the phone. Alpha Daniel sets the phone down before leaning back in the chair and rubbing his temples. He looks at Zach's beta while he continues to rub his temples. You heard Zach. Start sending everyone over. I'm calling the allies. I gasp quietly before running away. I'm not sure if I'm putting the pieces together correctly, but from what I understand is that Ryder is away from his pack and he only has a few men with him, which will leave him vulnerable to Zach's attack. If Zach is trying to have an attack, that means that he's probably somewhere close to this pack, so he'll be able to have all the resources he needs, while Ryder won't be able to do anything. Zach is right. Ryder really will be dead, because even though Ryder is strong, there's no way he can handle somewhere around 600 people. Maybe even more than that, since Zach apparently has allies. I can't let him die. Zach needs to be stopped. I can't let all those innocent people be killed. I have no clue what to do, though. How would I even be able to help Ryder? There's not much that I can do. It's not like I could stop the entire army from leaving. I need help. I start running to John's office, knowing that he'll have an idea. John! John! I yell while running to the pack infirmary. I keep running until I bump into a wall. The wall reaches its arms out to steady me, and that's when I realize that it's not a wall, it's my mate. I let out a sigh of relief before I feel the tears start pouring out of my eyes. I quickly hide my face into his chest and sob. He growls before gently removing my face from his chest. Who did this to you? Who made you cry? He asks in a low growl. I try to answer his question, but I just choke on a sob and my tears start pouring down faster. I will kill whoever did this to you, he mutters, before pulling me into his chest and rubbing my back soothingly and mumbling sweet nothings into my ear. It takes a few minutes for me to calm down, and I feel like all my energy is gone. I gently pull away from him before rubbing my sore eyes. John, it's terrible, I whimper while my bottom lip trembles. John cups my face into his hands while looking directly into my eyes.